I'm flying to Italy to buy a brand new Ferrari, a car that I've not even driven myself until today. My collection features some incredible Ferraris that I'm lucky to own, drive the socks off, and share with you on the channel. But this new one could be the best of them all. Come with me to Maranello, Italy, where we're going into detail with this new model and find out if I've made the right choice and whether you're going to like it too. Plus, whether I can secure an allocation for the even more special version that isn't easy to come by. Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to sunny Maranello. We're here today at Fiorano to share with you the new car coming to my collection. In recent years, I've mostly been focused on the newer Ferrari models. I love that experience of going to visit my dealer, HRO Ferrari in central London, to sit down with the configurator, to go through all of the different options and samples, to build a dream spec for a new Shmeemobile before eventually pulling back the covers ahead of many miles and adventures to come. However, with a recent purchase of the 458 Speciale, it's opened my eyes to the modern classics. And in recent times, I've been out to drive a number of different models with a view to what might be joining the collection in the future. But I'm also really into performance, into the latest models and what they have to offer, into the whole process of creating and customizing a car. And that's why, in addition to the 12 Cilindri, the V12 Grand Tourer, the SF90 XX, my first Versione Speciale, the 458 Speciale that recently joined the collection, the 296 GTS with its V6 and roof down, the SF90, my first new Ferrari, and of course also Purosangue, the Ferrari utility vehicle FUV, is going to be something new. And that's why we're now heading back to Italy to not only reveal it, but to take it for a first drive. Step 1, off to Heathrow to catch a flight from London to Bologna, land of Motor Valley and home to the iconic marque. Not only are we visiting Ferrari's hometown, but heading into the heart of Fiorano, their test track bang in the town centre and somewhere I haven't driven for quite a few years. On arrival, first up is to attend the briefing, learn about the car we're going to be driving and make notes that will help for the occasion. Then, after a short night, we're shuttled over to the circuit because this is where the magic is going to happen. If you blink, you'll miss it. We're back in Maranello, back in the heartland of it all, right here at Pista di Fiorano, where I'm going to be driving later. But it was about 4 years ago that right over there, we unveiled to you my SF90 Stradale from right in front of Enzo Ferrari's house. This is the history, the emotion, the heritage behind Ferrari, and it's where we are now going to reveal the new addition to the Shmeemobiles, which is, of course, the car right here, the 296 Speciale, the Versione Speciale of the 296 platform, a car that today I'm not only going to get to drive for the first time out on the roads, but also right here at Fiorano to bring you along for the experience, to see what it's like, and I cannot wait. The only question is, what about the even more limited the Aperta, but we'll touch on that later. So this is it, 296 Speciale from here in Maranello. There's no denying that Ferrari's latest models have raised some big questions from fans the world over about their designs. From that of the 12 Cilindri that introduced the new fascia with a bar running between the headlights, to the F80 hypercar that leads with technology but lifts eyebrows with its appearance. And most recently, perhaps Ferrari's most controversial design of them all, the 849 Testarossa, introduced to create a new generation after the original 250 Testarossa from the 1950s and the Testarossa of the 80s, which share very little in common beyond the red head or red cam covers. The 849 mixes it up with some bold visual features and has generated more conversation than anybody could have imagined. Impressively though, the 296 Speciale seems to have garnered universal appeal in the looks department. But today is more than that, because at this price point, it doesn't just need to look good, it needs to drive exceptionally too. Before we get to the 296 Speciale, we need a bit of a baseline, a benchmark of what this new car is going to be all about. And it just so happens that here in the collection, we have the car on which it's based, the 296, this being the GTS, and we also have the 458 Speciale. If you combine 296 and Speciale, what do you get? Let's find out. I've been a big fan of this this car since day one, having owned it now for a couple of years, and in fact, we actually spec'd it in Rosso Dino, a link to the original launch colour of the 60s Dino, which was Ferrari's entry-level, mid-engined super sports car of the day, even the nod with the 60 on the number plate to go with that. But this is a car that, a few thousand miles in, I've enjoyed a whole lot. A car that I love in terms of how it drives, and I want to get it out onto the road to really give us a starting point for where the new Speciale is going to go. So let's do it. Ever since the first time that I drove a Ferrari 296, I have maintained that this is the best supercar that you can currently buy. The way that it handles the roads, the bumps, the sound of the engine, the Piccolo V12 as they call it, this little six-cylinder that just screams like a V12. Everything about it set up so perfectly for actually going out and driving. A level of practicality, a level of comfort, an ease of driving, a familiarity. You drop it down through the gears, that dual clutch transmission, just doing everything that you absolutely want from it. And from driving the GTB originally to then the GTS, and of course owning my own. Just listen to this, and that's before we've put down the rear window, before we've taken off the roof. We're talking coupes at the moment, comparing what the GTB would be like, and of course with the retractable hardtop you basically get that experience. On the other end though, it's an absolute machine. Yes, the ride, the dampers are quite softly sprung, but that's a part of making it such a fantastic car for this kind of driving. So what can they do next? One of the big questions, given this already has 830 horsepower and can do this, is how much more do you really need? And that's part of what today is about experiencing. So in a moment, we'll get this back and try and understand more of what the name Speciale means. Back from one then, parked up, you see why I love it. But now it's time to move on to another very important Ferrari, a car that was so era-defining, the 458 Speciale. Now this particular one, I've only recently purchased, already done a couple of thousand miles with it. It's painted in avorio, which is Italian for ivory, a colour that was originally available on the Speciale back in the 1950s. But we need to get this started, and we need to get it out and take it for a drive so that we can understand what this name really means and why Ferrari have brought it back. It is deja vu, a different car, but the same incredible roads that twist through the trees. Driving now in one of the most special cars, excuse the pun, of the 21st century, one of the greatest Ferraris of the 2000s, the 458 Speciale. Now the key is in the name. It's special to begin with. With this though, you just have this sound. I mean, as I downshift into some of these corners, listen to that naturally aspirated V8. Absolutely screaming. It's raw, it's aggressive, it's bumpy, it's ferocious. It's about engagement and driver connection with the car. And this is what I'm so interested to see in terms of the new car. Will it mix the characteristics of each of these different machines together? Will it give you some of this edge, some of this feeling, some of this excitement that we know from the 458 Speciale? This car is in its element, and I tell you what, it's something I love about both the 296 and the 458 Speciale, is that they are made as road cars. They have that track intent, that track focus, but when you're driving them somewhere like this, they just connect. They give you what you want. They give you an experience, excitement, something that pretty much only cars from Maranello can. I mean, just look at this, a perfect day to be wailing down the countryside lanes in these cars. With this back in the garage, you can see what it is about both the 458 Speciale and the 296 GTS that I love so much. These are cars full of character, cars all about that experience, that emotion, that connection. So that is why we need to get ourselves back over to Italy to see what happens when Ferrari bring these two together. Everything here is happening fast. We've got cars pulling in, cars going out. I am about to have my first experience behind the wheel of a 296 Speciale to share with you what this is like. And we haven't even yet gone through all of the details, so let's try and mix this all together and see what it's about. Helmet on, ready to do this. Let's step in to the Speciale. First time in the new car. Gosh, right, in at the deep end. Wish me luck. Here we go. 296 Speciale Fiorano. I have been thrown into the hot seat. We have a lead follow set up. We've got some hot tires, super sticky, super ready. This is the warm-up lap to kick things off. We come to the slowest hairpin. I tell you what, the sound is immediately wild. So much more character, more excitement, more drama. And it's not that the V6 in the 296 sounds bad to begin with, but in here, they've just added another degree of awesomeness to it, especially the logic on shifting. Come towards the big hairpin up at the top here. Before the long straight, I can tell you in advance, this is going to be fast. The numbers, we've got some TC kicking in, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. Obviously in kilometers, 230, 240, 250, 260. Gentle lift around here. Heavy, heavy braking. Feeling the ABS Evo kicking in and doing their thing. The fast shift strategy is really interesting. It's so different to the regular 296. The shifts feel lightning quick, obviously, as a result, and you get this feel of power, this boost between each shift, which really negates any lag or any gap. I'm not gonna lie, what are they doing to me? We are straight into this, and we are absolutely flying around Fiorano. This is full speed immediately. Let's backtrack for a moment before we're going to continue driving in anger to test the performance of this. I want to introduce what exactly the 296 Speciale is about, and where better than standing on the straight here at Pista di Fiorano. Now, when speaking with the product marketing manager of the car, Stefano Friggeri, he said the goal of this is to be a client's favorite car to drive, to offer a different driving experience for Ferraristi who are lucky to own a number of cars. I think I can put my hand up at that one, and that's what today is all about. So the car amps up the power, amps up the downforce, and I have to start by saying amps up the looks. Now, the 296 GTB and GTS are stunning cars, and I think this is the best looking supercar on sale today. It takes those curvaceous 60s-like design cues of the arches, but mixes in something that I think we previously saw on the 458 Speciale. The idea behind the name, to bring back that flavor, that taste, that style into the 296 era. So if we start with this, we've got a lot more downforce, 20% up, 435 kilos at 250 kilometers per hour. That's thanks to a lot of different things that have come from the GT3 race car, from the 296 Challenge race car. So for example, the louvers here, which help to funnel the air out using different areas and different pressures. You have the air damper in the very center, which actually takes air under the front of the car, vertically up and out. And by having a gurney flap at the front, it helps to allow that air to go through, giving more downforce and giving a smoother profile to it as well, while also maintaining a luggage space in the front. Because let's be real, if you want to drive and have some fun and go on tours and enjoy it, you need that practicality as well. This particular car is equipped with the carbon fiber wheels. We've been driving out on the track, the lighter option, but stay tuned for what's a little bit later on. I always loved this style though, the arches over the back of the 296, the bridge that runs behind here as well, airflow again going through. You can also opt whether you have the carbon engine cover or whether you have a glass window. Beneath that is the V6, now up 50 horsepower to 880. That makes this car the most powerful rear-wheel drive production Ferrari. Back here, these end plate wings inspired by those of the FXXK, but also continuing the side wings that the Challenge race car had to help with downforce at the rear, although the bias of the new aero is up towards the front. You then have the active wing in the center with various different settings and positions as well. So there's a lot to this car that we need to go through in more detail. But for the moment, let's get back to driving. Fiorano beckons. 296 Speciale. Ballistically fast. So
Let's talk a little bit more technically. We've got ABS Evo. This car has the new sensor setup. Effectively, the way the computers are talking to one another is even more advanced than anything that's come before. That helps you go ballistically fast around a circuit like this. You can hop in and just drive like a madman from the off. But of course, it also means you get even more character, even more excitement, even more drama. And just listen to the sounds. The fast shift logic. As it goes a little light, revs build, the V6 giving even more of that V12-like sound than you've ever had before. The Piccolo V12 as it was nicknamed. Inside when driving in anger, not only are the numbers insane, it's 3 decibels louder than the GTB, thanks to having double the amount of ducting to allow the sound into the cabin, and you're very, very conscious of it. But the 20% increase in downforce, 70% of that is at the front axle, all to help with turn-in, with steering, with driving more like this. Of course, TC kicking in a fair bit with what we're doing here. Tyres getting some heat in them very fast.
To the engine, I'm a big fan of the Piccolo V12 as it's nicknamed, but the V6 back here, of course it's mid-engined, entirely rear-driven. Even with the electric motor, there's no electrified front axle. But pop open this carbon fibre engine cover and it reveals the 3-litre twin-turbo V6. Now it's technically 2,992cc, hence the 296 in the name, but up from the standard car now to a total output of 880 horsepower. 700 of that comes from the combustion engine, so we've got 37 more combustion engine horsepower, 13 more electric horsepower, 50 more in total. It's bonkers when you think about some of the performance behind this. Not only that though, there are some significant weight savings to the whole car, only 1,410 kilos, down 60 kilos from the regular 296. But that's thanks in part to titanium conrods, reinforced pistons, a lighter crankshaft. The list goes on in terms of the components. Not only that, technology derived from Challenge. For example, the boost strategy and the extra boost when you're driving. For example, the torque fill on shifting. Also technology from F1, you name it, and the engine sits right down there inside the engine bay. It's supported as well by the 7.45 kilowatt-hour battery pack that gives you 25 kilometers of electric range, or of course, as we're driving it out on track, giving you all of that extra boost and recharging with its strategy to make sure that you always have enough to go.
I'm going to go into CT off, not because I want to be a hooligan, just because I feel TC being quite restrictive. But it has to be, because as you just saw, 880 horsepower, hooks into the red line. It's a whole lot, and it'd be very easy to make a monster of a mess of it. Obviously, with 60% of the weight at the rear, it's very, very lively. I'm actually amazed by quite how lively it gets. I mean, that's the fun factor, right? Those downshifts are just mega. Wow! This has come to life like you would not believe. Braking power immense. The kicks on the downshifts. This car is absolutely insane. And it's time to cool it down. Oh my days. What a machine! What a machine! to show you where I'm seated on board the new Speciale. Take a look at the interior, where we have the best weight racing seats that were introduced with the SF90XX. On that car, they can only be in black, but as you see here, we have the bright Rossodino Alcantara. We've then got the 4-point harnesses. You can opt to have those or the 3-point seat belts. But I'm going to swing in because the name of the game in here are weight savings. Carbon fiber full door card. Stripped out footwells, gone are the carpets. Even the central tunnel is simplified. This is akin to the old gated manual gearboxes as we've seen on a number of the recent introductions, with your reverse auto manual and launch, the electrified modern take, and your key is of course the shield that we've seen since the Roma with the name written on the back as well. I'm a big fan of those. But an update to the steering wheel. In fact, you still have the engine start button as a haptic, but now with physical buttons to make it a little bit easier to navigate through some of the controls. It's been a hot and often discussed topic. You then have the panels on either side for further controls, lots of Alcantara over the dashboard. You do have a view out of the rear window with a traditional mirror because of course, unlike its bigger brother, the XX Stradale, you do still have a rear window. You've got the 16-inch curved dashboard in front, but this is where you use your E-Manettino to change between the performance modes, or on the other side, your traditional Manettino, which is where you have the various settings and controls as well. The pace today is nuts. First experience, well, obviously it's very fast. I mean, the regular 296 is already a bonkers machine to drive. They look so good. Now, the primary objective with the new Speciale is about fun to drive. It's about the thrill of driving. It's about offering a different experience to other Ferrari models. I'm just blown away by how quick it is on track. The regular car, already something crazy. This just dials everything up even more, and the sound characteristics, the cold start, well not even the cold, the hot start in qualifying mode, it just sounds super cool. We need to try and catch that. Wow. On that topic, the start sound. So this car is hot, and the car has this new engineered feature. When the engine is very hot and you start it in qualifying mode, it makes this epic noise. So come in here because, there, you just heard it in the background. But what you do is you one press of the start button, obviously to wake it up. Oh, it was already on. One press to wake it up, one press to put it into qualifying mode, and then all you do is just start it up. So foot on the brake, press the button, and listen to the bang. It's cool, it's character, it's excitement, and it's something that's so hard in the current era with the regulations and the rules. They've done something pretty awesome with this. It's time to head out from Fiorano and go and drive this on the road, which is what I'm most excited about because it is a road car. The question remains though of Speciale, the coupe with a roof, or the A, the Aperta, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, this was launched in the color you see here, Verde Nürburgring. It is a very out there color for Ferrari. I'm not gonna lie, this metallic green, but I think it suits it so well. What's new for today is to see the cars with this narrower dual racing stripe. The earlier cars had the much wider stripe with the double-digit number. They had 25 for the year of introduction. You could have your racing number, whatever it is. But those are painted in Bianco Cervino. The reason for that is to match with these white wheels. Now, I understand this actually came from Flavio Manzoni, head of Centro Stile, but the wheels, for the first time from Ferrari on the standard menu of options, available in white. Of course, with Atelier and going to tailor-made, you could do them in any color you want, but quite an out there, bold choice in terms of the character. So let's step in and let's get this on the road. What a day, what a road. This is one of my favorite places to go driving, and there is so much to talk about with this car. At the moment, we're in automatic, in performance on the E-Manettino, and in sport. And if I pressed it into bumpy road as I have, then you get obviously the softer suspension, and you realize that this is a car built for dealing with these undulations and bumps and stuff that you get around here in Italy. It's when you start to dial it up though, the character comes to life. I mean, even here you get some crackles and some interesting sounds. The regular 296 does that out of the box anyway. But if you turn the Manettino into race, go back into bumpy road, pop the 8-speed dual clutch transmission into manual, start to drop down some gears. 4th gear, 3rd gear, 2nd gear. There's so much character from the shift. And then when you start to get higher in the rev range, it makes
all sorts of noises. Like other modern Ferraris, the 12 Cilindri and the SF90XX, it's almost like this gunshot crack on the upshift. They've engineered in this character. They talk about it as making it more harmonious inside the vehicle. They've doubled up the amount of hot tubing, effectively, that brings real engine sound into the cabin. So it's not speakers or something annoying. It's not an unpleasant sound. And it's a way of countering the regulations on what the car can do from the outside. I mean, listen to this thing. And that's before we touch on the fact that it's ballistically fast. Obviously, experiencing it at Fiorano has kind of taught me all we need to know on that front. What this is about now is what's it like to drive, what's it like to use on the roads. And there is so much, but probably what's fascinating me the most about this is how when you change it between different modes, when you go through these different settings, the character just changes so dramatically from one to the other. I don't think I've driven anything else from the Ferrari range that has such a wild variation in what it does and in how it sounds depending on which mode you're in. As you come to a standstill, there's a little bit of a kick from it, which I think is quite like the XX, and actually these small things that aren't perfectly refined give a car a bit more character, give it a little bit more excitement. You know, you can go the other way, right? You can put it in wet, or you can put it in full e-drive, right? This is a car with 15 miles, 25 kilometers of electric driving, rear-driven, 180 horsepower of electric, not quite the full 880 horsepower and 755 newton meters that you have when you're in all-out attack. But I tell you what, it's actually decently nippy and go-kart-like, apart from when you're going up a very steep hill like this. But you realize also how well they have to make everything near on silent inside the car, as we have one coming the other way. That's so cool. Love that. We're out on these roads to drive the car today, but I think that's not the purpose. The purpose is to be in qualifying mode or performance mode and really enjoy it. Lock to lock, tight steering ratio. Obviously we're not going to get the maximum amount of downforce and power out of the thing here, especially not when we're behind a bus, but let's get some open road and enjoy it a little more. Let's turn the Manettino into race, pop it back into bumpy road, because now this is about the twists and turns, the hairpins up the hill, and about the ultimate way to enjoy a car like this. To me, it's how does a car perform when you're on a kind of bumpy, twisty, technical bit of tarmac. God, the sound of this. Obviously up and down the gears a little bit more than we need to because there's so much torque, but you just want to enjoy it. The road is choppy, it's very bumpy, and this rides it surprisingly well. On some of the harsher stuff, you do feel a little bit more of a bump, but on most of it, just delivers power in droves. Absolutely abundant power. And it does this. It is ridiculous, this car. I can see entirely that ethos, that let's make it the most fun to drive car that you could possibly imagine on the road. Let's make it something that if you hurtle it up a twisty road, just rewards the driver, makes them feel absolutely over the moon, proud of their driving, very complimentary in that respect. I think so many modern cars use technology to do that. As we're now on some slightly smoother tarmac as well, it just goes through the gears and there's such good turn in as well. You notice the steering is heavier, obviously a little bit more sharpened up versus the regular 296, which is exactly what they've gone for, the extra downforce that you have up front, and of course all of the new tyre compounds and things that have been used. The new set of Michelin Cup 2s, K1 stamped as per other Ferrari models, have been developed for it as well. This is so good. Lock to lock, able to keep your hands in position, unwind it back up the hill. What a place to be. What a car to be driving. The way they engineer this sound in the cabin. It's so good. Mid-range as well. You don't necessarily need to hit the red line, but when you do, it's just the icing on the cake. As much as I absolutely love snaking through these kinds of roads, enjoying the car to the max, there is another whole other side to it we should probably explore a little bit. So let me pop it back into automatic. We'll go into sport, press again for bumpy road mode, and actually I'm going to pop it into hybrid on the e-Manatino. And completely, for somebody who's not familiar with these controls, it takes a fair bit of getting used to. Once you know all of this, it's actually quite easy to work with, and I'm lucky to have done a lot of miles in these different Ferraris with this system, and I enjoy the configurability of it, how much you can actually set it up. But another very important side, right, is a car like this is supposed to be great for driving on the roads, for taking on a road trip, for enjoying, for using in every environment, for using in every purpose. And certainly if you know the Shmeemobiles and you know what I do with my cars, that's absolutely a very high priority. We'll touch on luggage space once we've returned, but when you drive, there's something this is notably better at than the SF90XX, and that's ground clearance. I've gone over some pretty rough roads today, and I have not once scraped the front or the underbody aero of this thing, which is very welcome, because in a lot of new, especially track-focused cars, you're just constantly living in the land of scraping something, and while they're often easily replaceable parts, it's still massively bothersome. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, nobody enjoys it. The other things to talk about, ride is obviously very smooth, very compliant. The seating position, I really like these seats. You don't want to drop anything because it will fall straight to the floor and make quite a loud noise in the process, although you can kind of use the little space that you have between your legs as a bit of a cup holder or bottle holder due to the lack of much else. There's one here, one storage pad right in front, but we're just rolling down the hill right now in electric, right? You can go full electric, all of that jazz, and you know, everyone I think knows how all of that works nowadays. Or you can go the other way and go full send, as we will probably do in a second, back into performance. Now, the motor just takes a moment to kick back in, a couple of seconds. The regular 296 is the same. It's less responsive than the V8 that you find in the SF90 range. You get used to that eventually, but it's certainly when you've driven with the V8 something that you slightly miss in comparison. But you know, here for example, this road is really chopped up, really bumpy, and it handles it just fine. Other thing to mention, the difference between the various Manatino settings, and I apologise for the blinding low sun. We're in Italy, it's a beautiful day as we head towards the end of the year. I can't complain. But in sport, you don't get any of the wild gear changes. Maybe I can just give a little demo. We've got to drop down a lot of them through the 8-speed gearbox. But second to third, you notice it's much cleaner, without the massive shove, without the whip snap, without the huge drama. Go up into race, and then you immediately get it back again. You can hear that. I'm not sure actually on the video if you hear quite how dramatic it is or how it feels inside the cabin. And obviously on the track, CT off will liven things up, doesn't change the gearbox so notably, but I do like how easy it is to just flick this back and forth and put it how you want it. Now, this bit of road is an interesting bit to be driving on, because the first time I drove around here was actually the same day I drove Fiorano for the first time. It was on the press launch of the 812 Superfast, my first Fiorano laps, and of course, discovering this area. In fact, in a moment, we'll go past the restaurant where I actually stopped with the guys I was out driving with on that day to hang and enjoy going back and forth a little bit. But when you're in here, it revs up so aggressively. Now, 4-point harnesses. In the 296 Speciale, you have the choice between 4 points or the 3 points. And let's be real, 4 points, more excitement, more drama, 3 points, much more usable. In the A, Aperta, I believe it's just 3 points, not the 4-point harness. So different opportunities, different types of experiences. I just find driving in this super enjoyable. Takes what we already know of the 296 and does everything that you would hope that they would do with it. Everything. There's nothing that it's missing, I would say, that it should have had. It's got character, it's got crazy performance, and it's got that fun to drive factor, that thrill that I know from the engineers and talking with the team is exactly what they were going for. They wanted to make it exciting. They have succeeded in making it very, very exciting. We are back at Fiorano, and one of the things we need to talk about is luggage capacity, because of course, well, there's a lot to talk about, but one of those is how usable is this car. And rather than where the Pista had its S-duct that comes through the front and then up through the front of the bonnet, this has the air damper at the very back. Interestingly, it almost reverses on itself so that they could maintain having some decent luggage capacity. And in there, you have 169 litres, which means you can fit 2 trolley bags comfortably and some other things. And there's another 110 litres behind the seats. So you can actually go away for a decent road trip in a 296 Speciale, which most modern, more hardcore versions, you just can't. The SF90XX, for example, from my experience, the Ford GT, the Senna, the STO, you name it, they aren't really set for that anymore. Of course, this is full carbon fiber. In fact, extensive use of carbon throughout the car. But I tell you what, just look at it parked here. Look at this thing. It's a stunning car. I think it is genuinely one of the best looking cars that you can get on the market right now. More to show you inside. Now, we're not going to go through everything because we have taken a look at the car before. Of course, there is that space right behind. If you have the harnesses, that will slightly interfere. You have those pouches back there as well. You can opt to have carpets. You can opt to have Alcantara instead of the carbon fiber down here. You can have the carbon lower dash as this car does, or go without. Of course, if you don't have the 4 points, your traditional 3-point comes out from here. Your release latch for the door just there. I did promise I would show a little bit more of the systems and settings that you do have in here as well. Obviously, the passenger display inside this gloss carbon fiber trim piece that you have right there. If we start it, it's been off for a while. Let's see if it does the qualifying start right now. Not quite, it needs to be warm. One of the advantages of having the physical buttons rather than the haptics is that you don't have to wake it up. On the previous cars, you had to press right in the middle of the D-pad to wake up the system first, but now you go straight in, you have everything easily available to you, all of your settings, your reports, you have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, obviously everything pretty easily accessible, and you can pan the screens across and you can press view to change the different displays in front of you, so you can have a full screen map right in the heart of Fiorano. You can have this view, which gives you your extra boost charts right up at the very top as well, if that's the one you would prefer. And obviously with the different eManatino settings, it changes the display slightly as well. Hybrid, putting it in eDrive, or go full blue with the full eDrive should you wish. We're going to play with a lot more of this in the future, of course, with the 296 Speciale coming to the Shmeemobiles. It feels very, very special in here. I love the view where you can just see the louvres out over the wings in either direction, just giving you a big sense that you're in a very special Ferrari. It goes without saying that I am very excited for what's going to be in store down the line. Make sure you're subscribed for the journey that's ahead to see what you think of the spec in due course. That's always a talking point. But thank you very much to everyone here at Ferrari for today's opportunity to drive at Fiorano. Thank you to you for your support over the years. If you like videos like this one, check out the video right over there. But that's it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.